The 50-30-20 budget rule explained, and does it actually work? What is the 50-30-20 rule? Imagine someone handed you a budgeting plan that fits on a sticky note. No complicated spreadsheets, no confusing formulas, no tracking dozens of spending categories, just 3 simple numbers. It sounds almost too simple, but millions of people use this budgeting method to manage their money every month. So why is it so popular? And more importantly, will it actually work for you? Today, we're going to break down exactly how the 50-30-20 budget rule works, where it shines, where it falls short, and how to adapt it to your own financial situation. By the end of this video, you'll know whether this is the budgeting system you've been looking for, or if another approach might fit your life better. Let's get started. Why budgeting doesn't have to be complicated. One reason people avoid budgeting is because they think it has to be complicated. They picture giant spreadsheets, dozens of categories, hours spent tracking every dollar. For some people, that's helpful, but for many beginners, it's overwhelming. And when something feels overwhelming, it's easy to quit before you even start. That's where the 50-30-20 rule comes in. Instead of asking you to track every tiny expense, it groups your spending into just 3 main categories. That makes it easier to understand, easier to remember, and easier to stick with over time. Sometimes the best budget isn't the most detailed one. It's the one you'll actually use. Where did the 50-30-20 rule come from? The 50-30-20 budget became widely known after it was popularized by then-law professor Elizabeth Warren and her daughter, Amelia Warren Tyagi, in their book, All You're Worth: The Ultimate Lifetime Money Plan. Their idea was simple. Instead of creating dozens of budget categories, focus on the 3 areas that matter most: needs, wants, and saving for your future. The percentages aren't meant to be strict rules carved in stone. They're guidelines that help you create balance between enjoying life today and preparing for tomorrow. That's an important point because many people think they're failing if they don't hit those percentages exactly. You're not. The goal is progress, not perfection. Why so many people like this budget? Think about diets for a moment. The more complicated a diet becomes, the harder it usually is to follow. Budgeting works the same way. If your system takes hours every week, chances are you won't keep doing it. The 50-30-20 rule is popular because it's easy to remember. Half of your income goes toward your essential needs, 30% goes toward the things you enjoy, and 20% goes toward building your future through savings or paying down debt. 3 numbers. That's it. Simple systems are often the ones people stick with the longest. And consistency is one of the biggest keys to improving your finances. But here's the catch. Before you get too excited, there's something you need to know. This budgeting rule isn't perfect. For someone living in an expensive city, spending only 50% on needs might be impossible. If you're aggressively paying off debt, you may want to save much more than 20%. And if your income changes from month to month, you'll probably need to adjust your percentages regularly. That's why, later in this video, we'll look at real-life examples and show you exactly how to customize this budget to fit your situation. Because the best budget isn't the one that's perfect on paper, it's the one that works in real life. Now that you know what the 50-30-20 rule is and why it's so popular, let's break down each category one by one. What actually counts as a need? What's considered a want? And should paying off debt be part of your savings category? Let's find out. Breaking down the 50-30-20 rule, the 50%, your needs. Let's start with the biggest category in your budget, your needs. According to the 50-30-20 rule, about 50% of your take-home income should go toward the things you absolutely need to live and work. The key word here is need. A need is something you can't reasonably live without, or something that's essential for earning an income. Examples include rent or your mortgage, utilities like electricity and water, groceries, basic transportation, car insurance, health insurance, minimum debt payments, internet if you need it for work or school. Notice I said groceries, not eating out. There's a difference. Buying food to cook at home is generally a need. Ordering takeout several nights a week is usually a want. That's one of the most common budgeting mistakes people make. Here's another example. You probably need a car to get to work. But do you need the newest luxury model with a large monthly payment? Probably not. The transportation is the need. The upgrade is the want. When you're deciding where an expense belongs, ask yourself one simple question. Could I reasonably live or work without this? If the answer is no, it's probably a need. If the answer is yes, it's probably a want. The 30%, your wants now. Let's talk about the fun category. The next 30% of your budget is for your wants. These are the things that make life more enjoyable, but aren't essential for survival. Some common examples include dining out, coffee shops, streaming services, concerts, vacations, new clothes beyond basic necessities, video games, gym memberships you don't truly need, upgrading your phone before your current one wears out. Here's the important part. There's nothing wrong with spending money on things you enjoy. In fact, a good budget should include room for fun. If you remove every enjoyable expense from your life, chances are you won't stick with your budget for very long. A budget that you can maintain for years is far more valuable than a perfect budget you quit after 2 weeks. The goal isn't to eliminate your wants. The goal is to enjoy them intentionally. The 20%, your future. Now we come to the final category. The 20% that's all about your future. This portion of your income should go toward improving your financial position over time. That could include building an emergency fund, investing for retirement, investing in a brokerage account, paying extra toward high-interest debt, saving for a down payment on a home building a college fund, saving for major future expenses. Notice something interesting. Paying extra toward debt belongs here. The minimum payment belongs in your needs because it's an obligation. Anything above the minimum is helping your future self by reducing interest and becoming debt-free faster. That's why many people include extra debt payments in the 20% category. Whether you're investing or paying down debt, you're making your future stronger. A real example. Let's put everything together. Imagine your monthly take-home pay is $4,000. Using the 50-30-20 rule, your budget would look like this. 50% needs. That's $2,000. This covers your rent, groceries, utilities, insurance, transportation, and other essentials. 30% wants. That's $1,200. This is your entertainment, dining out, hobbies, travel savings, and other lifestyle spending. 20% savings and debt. That's $800. That money could go toward an emergency fund, investing, or paying extra on debt. When you see the numbers laid out like this, budgeting suddenly feels much less intimidating. Instead of tracking dozens of tiny categories, you're simply making sure your money fits into 3 major buckets. It's simple, it's flexible, and for many people, that's exactly why it works. But here's where many people run into trouble. They understand the percentages. They build the budget, and then they accidentally put expenses into the wrong categories. In the next section, we'll cover the 5 biggest mistakes people make when using the 50-30-20 rule and how you can avoid every one of them. The 5 biggest mistakes people make with the 50-30-20 rule. By now, you know how the 50-30-20 rule is supposed to work. But here's the truth. Most people don't fail because the rule is bad. They fail because they use it incorrectly. The good news is that these mistakes are easy to avoid once you know what to look for. Let's go through the 5 biggest ones. Mistake number 1, confusing needs and wants. This is by far the most common mistake. People call something a need simply because they use it every day, but using something every day doesn't automatically make it essential. Let's look at a few examples. You need a phone, but do you need the newest flagship phone every year? Probably not. You need transportation, but do you need the luxury SUV with a $900 monthly payment? Probably not. You need groceries, but ordering delivery 4 nights a week, that's usually a want. Here's an easy test. Ask yourself, if I lost my job tomorrow, would I still have to pay for this? If the answer is yes, it's probably a need. If the answer is no, it's probably a want. That one question can help you classify almost every expense. Mistake number 2, Forgetting about irregular expenses. Here's something almost everyone forgets. Not every expense happens every month. Your car registration, holiday gifts, birthday presents, home repairs, back-to-school shopping. These costs sneak up on people because they aren't part of the monthly routine. Then suddenly, the budget falls apart. The solution is simple. Create a sinking fund. A sinking fund is just money you save each month for future expenses you know are coming. Instead of scrambling to find $600 in December for holiday shopping, save $50 every month. When December arrives, the money is already waiting. Planning ahead removes a lot of financial stress. Mistake number 3, treating the percentages like strict rules. Here's something many people don't realize. The 50-30-20 rule is a guideline, not a law. Let's say you live in a city where rent is extremely expensive. Your needs might take up 60% of your income. That's okay. Maybe your wants shrink to 20% for a while, or maybe you increase your income over time so your budget naturally moves closer to the guideline. The important thing isn't hitting the exact percentages. It's understanding where your money is going. Progress beats perfection every single time. Mistake number 4, ignoring your debt. This one can be expensive. Some people focus only on saving money while carrying high-interest credit card debt. Imagine earning 4% interest in a savings account while paying 24% interest on a credit card balance. You're working against yourself. If you have high-interest debt, paying extra toward that balance is often one of the best financial decisions you can make. Remember, minimum payments belong in your needs. Extra payments belong in your savings and debt category because they're improving your financial future. It's not always about saving more. Sometimes it's about paying less interest. Mistake number 5, never adjusting your budget. Life changes. Your budget should change too. Maybe you get a raise. Maybe your rent increases. Maybe you have a child. Maybe you pay off your car. Your budget isn't something you create once and forget forever. It's a living plan. I recommend reviewing your budget at least once a month. Ask yourself, what's working? What isn't? What surprised me? What can I improve next month? Those small monthly adjustments are what turn an average budget into a great one. Quick reality check. Can you answer these 5 questions? Do you know the difference between your needs and your wants? Have you planned for irregular expenses? Are you using the percentages as a guide instead of a strict rule? If you have debt, do you have a payoff strategy? When was the last time you reviewed your budget? If any of those questions made you stop and think, that's okay. Budgeting is a skill, and like any skill, it gets better with practice. Now you understand the rule, you know how to avoid the biggest mistakes. But one important question remains. Does the 50-30-20 rule actually work for everyone? In the final part of this video, we'll look at who should use it, who may need a different approach, and how you can customize it to fit your own financial situation. So, does it actually work? After everything we've covered, we come to the big question. Is the 50-30-20 budget rule actually worth using? The honest answer is yes, for many people, but not for everyone, and that's okay. No budgeting system works perfectly for every person, every income, and every stage of life. The goal isn't to force your life to fit a budget. The goal is to make your budget fit your life. That's the mindset that leads to long-term success. Who should use the 50-30-20 rule? This budgeting method is a great fit if you're new to budgeting. You have a fairly steady monthly income. You want a simple system that's easy to remember. You don't want to track dozens of spending categories. You're looking for a balanced approach that includes both saving and enjoying your money. If that sounds like you, the 50-30-20 rule is a fantastic place to start. It's simple enough that you can begin today without feeling overwhelmed. Who might need a different approach? On the other hand, this rule may not fit everyone. If you live in a city with very high housing costs, your essential expenses might naturally take up more than 50% of your income. If you're working hard to pay off high-interest debt, you may decide to put much more than 20% toward debt repayment. If your income changes every month because you're self-employed, working seasonal jobs, or freelancing, you'll probably need to budget based on percentages of each paycheck instead of one fixed monthly amount. Life isn't one size fits all. Your budget shouldn't be either. The rule isn't the goal. Here's something I want you to remember. The purpose of budgeting isn't to hit perfect percentages. The purpose is to spend your money intentionally. Imagine two people. One follows the 50-30-20 rule perfectly every month, but never reviews their spending or adjusts when life changes. The other person's percentages aren't perfect, but they check their budget regularly, save consistently, and make thoughtful decisions. Who do you think is more likely to succeed? Most of the time, it's the second person because consistency beats perfection every single time. Your 7-day budget challenge. Let's put everything into action. Here's a simple challenge you can start today. Day 1. Write down your monthly take-home income. Day 2. List every fixed expense. Day 3. Estimate your variable expenses. Day 4. Divide your spending into needs, wants, and savings. Day 5. Find one expense you can reduce or eliminate. Day 6. Move a small amount of money into savings or make an extra debt payment. Day 7. Review your budget and make one improvement. That's it. 7 simple steps. You don't need expensive software. You don't need to be a math expert. You just need to start. Final thoughts. Financial success isn't built by making one perfect decision. It's built by making small, smart decisions over and over again. Whether you use the 50-30-20 rule, a zero-based budget, or another budgeting system, the important thing is that you have a plan, because every dollar that has a purpose brings you one step closer to your goals. Remember, a budget doesn't limit your freedom. It gives you more control over your future, and that's one of the best investments you can make. If you found this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a like. It helps this video reach more people who are trying to improve their finances. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Do you think the 50-30-20 rule would work for your situation, or would you change the percentages? Share your thoughts below. If you're enjoying these beginner-friendly finance guides, be sure to subscribe to DIY Finances. Every week, we cover practical strategies to help you budget smarter, save more, get out of debt, and build long-term wealth. Thanks so much for watching. If you're just starting your financial journey, check out my video on how to build a budget that actually works next. It'll help you put today's strategy into action.